Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are diving into a brand new recipe for building smarter AI agents. And this is a big deal because it might just be the key for the open source community to finally start catching up to the big industry giants. All right, so let's get right into it because this really cuts to the core of a huge question in the AI world right now. We've got all these amazing open source models out there, so why is it that the big closed source AI agents, the ones from places like OpenAI, still seem to be so far ahead? And look, this isn't just a hunch. You can actually measure it. Take a look at this benchmark. It's called BrowseComp. OpenAI's agent, it scores over 51. The best open source model before this stuck way down at 30. I mean, that is a huge, huge gap. But then you see that middle bar, AgentFounder, it's making a massive leap forward. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. How in the world they pulled that off. Okay, so to really understand the solution here, we've got to get super clear on the problem first. And it's not as simple as just getting the right answer anymore. No, the whole challenge has shifted, and it's led to this brand new idea the researchers are calling agentic alignment. So what on earth is agentic alignment? Well, think of it this way. It's not enough for the AI to just magically get the right answer in the end. It has to behave like an expert the entire time. How does it reason through the problem? How does it use its tools, like a web browser? And what does it do when it hits a dead end? It's all about aligning the entire process, the behavior, not just the final outcome. Right, so why is it so incredibly hard to get this kind of expert-like behavior? Well, the paper points to a huge problem, a fundamental conflict that's happening right at the core of how we've been training these AI agents. So here's the deal. The old way of training basically puts this impossible double duty on the AI model. It's being told to do two completely different things all at the same time. First, it has to learn the absolute basics of being an agent, how to think, how to use tools. But at the exact same time, it's also supposed to perfectly copy the moves of a world-class expert on a super complex task. You can see how those two goals just clash. Yeah, this quote from the paper just hits the nail on the head. It's kind of like this. Imagine you're teaching a student, and in their very first class, you tell them, okay, today you need to learn how to add 2 plus 2 and also write a PhD thesis on quantum mechanics. I mean, it's absurd, right? You'd just be setting them up to fail at both. And that's pretty much the exact dilemma these AI models have been in. So the team behind AgentFounder looked at this whole mess and said, you know what, we can't just tweak this. We can't just optimize our way out of this problem. They realized they had to completely change the game. And their solution, it's a real breakthrough. They didn't just tweak the model. They redesigned the entire training process from the ground up. And here it is, the new pipeline. So step 1, that's a standard pre-training where the model just learns about the world. And step 3, that's the final alignment for specific tasks. We're used to those. But look what they did. They slotted in this brand new middle step, Agentic CPT. And that right there is the secret sauce. So what does this Agentic CPT actually do? The whole point is to build a rock-solid foundation first. Instead of just throwing the model in the deep end and hoping it learns to swim, this new stage is like a boot camp for AI agents. It drills the model on the core skills, the basic reasoning, the tool use, before it ever has to worry about those super hard, expert-level tasks. It separates the learning how from the becoming an expert. Okay, but a new training stage is great and all, but it's totally useless without the right data to feed it. And for this to work, you need a ton of agent-specific training data, just a mind-boggling amount. And if you try to get that data the old-fashioned way, with real agents using real tools in real time, the cost would be astronomical. It just wasn't feasible. So they had to get really, really clever. Their first trick is something they call first-order action synthesis, or FAS. And this is so smart. It basically takes all this existing text we already have, stuff like Wikipedia pages or just general web documents, and it automatically cooks up training examples that teach the model how to plan and reason. And here's the kicker. It does all of this completely offline. No expensive real-time tool use needed. That makes it massively scalable and way, way cheaper. But their second method, HES, is maybe even more clever. Get this. It takes old agent attempts, even the ones that completely failed, and it re-engineers them. It looks at a failed attempt and says, okay, where did it go wrong? What could it have done instead? It turns every mistake, every dead end into a valuable lesson. It's like the ultimate waste not, want not approach to AI training data. Nothing gets thrown away. All right, so we've got a new training plan and some really smart ways to create the data for it. So, the million-dollar question, does any of this actually work? Well, let's take a look at the results because they are pretty darn impressive. The short answer? Oh yeah, it works. On that BrowseComp benchmark we talked about, AgentFounder shoots up to almost 40%. That's a nearly 10-point jump over the last best open source model. And it's the same story on the HLE benchmark, a brand new record. And let's just pause on that HLE score for a second. Humanity's last exam. I mean, with a name like that, you know it's got to be tough. It is an incredibly difficult task of expert-level thinking. An AgentFounder, it's the very first open source model to ever break that 30-point barrier. That's a huge milestone. It really starts to put it in the same ballpark as some of the big closed-source models. And you know what might be the most exciting part of all this? The method scales beautifully. Look at this. As they made the models bigger from 1 billion parameters all the way up to 30 billion, the performance just got better and better in a really predictable way. That's a fantastic sign. It shows this isn't some one-off trick. It's a genuinely solid recipe for building even more powerful agents down the road. So let's just recap the whole thing real quick. The big problem? This core conflict in training that was holding open source agents back. The big solution? Slap a new training stage, Agentic CPT, right in the middle to build a solid skill foundation first. And the secret to making that possible? Those super clever, low-cost data creation methods. And the result of all that is a new state-of-the-art open source agent that seriously starts to close that performance gap. At the end of the day, AgentFounder isn't really about just one model. It's a blueprint. It's a new recipe that could totally democratize AI agent development, putting incredible power into the hands of developers everywhere. And that leaves us with a really exciting thought to end on. If this recipe lets you build a world-class AI agent, what's the first problem you'd want to solve?